2, 1. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Again, I've been out into the wilderness. I found this strange, crazy man who's willing to talk all sorts of rubbish. Then we got rid of him and got Nomad in. Hello, Nomad. How's it going, mate?
How's it going? It's going well. It's going well. How are
Good,
you
good.
doing in the wonderland that is the United Kingdom?
Oh, usual weather. It's raining. Of course, it's raining. When's it? The only time it's not raining, it's generally foggy, except once a year, at which point it's sunny for about 20 minutes. And my God, you should see the parks and the streets. People walk around, and I'm not just talking men here. People walk around with their tops off catching sun for those like 6 hours that we get of sun a year. It's so funny to watch.
Yeah,
You just see a horde of ghosts walking past. It's really good.
you go out there just to watch to see which one's burst in flames. I know what you're doing. I understand
Hey,
what you're.
good phones. What?
So since we're talking about things about bursting into flames, let's talk about Amazon. Now listen to this. This is hilarious. Ann's Rana was in the back seat of his brother's Tesla Model S. Okay, can't see where this is going to go wrong. All right, when they stopped behind his disabled car at about 9 p.m. on Atlanta's busy Interstate 75. Several seconds later, a blue Amazon Inc. delivery van slammed into them from behind, mangling the rear of the car and sending Rana, his brother, and father into the Wellstar Keniston Hospital. Rana bore the brunt of the collision, suffering life-changing brain and spinal cord injuries. Now, I'm not saying that this isn't serious and everything. The 24-year-old spent months clinging to life, a ventilator helping him to breathe. Are we sure he wasn't? This is COVID, right? Is this a COVID symptom?
They will actually probably twist it to that, so it would not shock me.
Anyway, all right. He's slowly recovered enough to be released now, and lives with his sister who looks after him. Rana gets around with a motorized wheelchair, unable to do simple tasks such as feeding himself, changing channels on the remote, or playing video games. March 15th, crash dashed his dreams of attending medical school, and the once aspiring doctor is now focused on his own recovery, unsure if he'll ever walk again or regain control of his arms. I mean, these are horrific injuries. But what does that have to do with Amazon?
Good question. And I'd just like to make a point here, okay? He's saying it ruins his chance of going to the medical schools. No, I actually think it increases them. Just he'll be going as a patient, not as a doctor. That's all. Does that make him a bad person?
I don't think that's what his intent was. I'm just putting it out there. In June, he filed a lawsuit in the Georgia State Court alleging that Amazon is liable for the accident. Central to the complaint, the algorithm, apps, and devices the company uses to manage its sprawling logistics operation. Amazon says it isn't legally culpable because the driver worked for Harper Logistics LLC, one of the thousands of small businesses launched in recent years, specifically to deliver Amazon packages. By focusing on a key role played by the algorithms, Rana's attorney, Scott Harrison, is looking to prove that the company controls the operations, manages everything from how many packages drivers must deliver to whether they should be kept on or fired, demonstrating Amazon isn't just a customer of Harper Logistics, but actually manages it from afar. Does the Amazon algorithm, all right, take control of their vehicles and ram them into others?
No, that is what they seem to be suggesting. Do you know what that means, don't you? That Amazon is Skynet.
It's like
And
nothing against anybody, and this is a horrible thing, but the first person who needs to be taken out and horsewhipped in this case, right, Now, notice no one's talking about this driver, right?
Huh?
Could that be because the driver's dead?
True. Could well be, couldn't it?
All right. Is that the reason why they're doing this? Now that's number one. Number two, okay. I realize this guy's hurt, and it's a tragedy and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
But why in the hell did a judge allow this to go forward? How come the judge in this case isn't being taken out right now and just basically, tarred and feathered?
Yeah. No, I'm not joking. Fifi's is the reason, okay? He's reacting emotionally, and correct me if I'm wrong, but a good judge shouldn't be that emotional. After all, they're supposed, it's kind of their thing. They're supposed to be in control. And if you're going to be that emotional, that's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Apparently, I'm to tell you to start raging immediately, according to Jacob. So, start raging.
Start raging. Look, this kind of crap. People wonder why these people are upset about this kind of stuff. But this is the same shit that these people come up with. Look, I understand Amazon has a big push with its drivers to get people to a package delivery on time.
Mm-hmm.
All right. But this accident, first of all, this specific accident, when did it happen? At 9 p.m. Right?
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't an Amazon driver speeding to drop off a package at 9 p.m. at night. They don't deliver that late. Okay?
Fair. No, it's fair.
All right? I'm just putting it out there. All right? Just because this guy was behind the wheel of an Amazon vehicle at 9 p.m., maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they do deliver late. All right? But I've never known an Amazon truck to be speeding, zipping away at 9 p.m., right?
You know what? All right, this is just a theory, okay? I'm not saying this is the case. I'm just throwing this out here, but
Well, that's a pretty
it's
vicious
quite
accident.
possible.
If you take a look at the picture of the scene, that's a pretty horrific freaking accident.
No. What I'm wondering is, did the driver, air quotes, borrow the van and was using it for his own uses? That's something that could easily have happened. Okay.
It's possible. I mean, it also could be that the guy was, contracted to drive from point A to point B so that the truck would be available for deliveries. Okay.
True.
Right. I mean, it's a lot of people are saying this. The Texas couple alleged that they were injured in a February crash with an Amazon driver van in Dallas and sought more than $1 million in damages. That case has been dismissed. See, in Texas, it's like, you want what? No, enough of this shit.
Yeah.
A Wilford, Massachusetts man has filed a suit after suffering brain injuries during a head-on collision in January with a delivery van. The driver allegedly fell asleep and drifted across the double yellow line into oncoming traffic. Okay. I'm not saying that these things, bad things don't happen, but my question is why do you blame Amazon?
True. No, yeah.
We know why. Money.
Yeah.
They're an ultra-billion-dollar corporation. We can get a piece of that money. We can really make a dent into them. We can teach that Jeff Bezos or that whatever Elon Musk, whoever these guys are. We'll teach them. You teach
Give us money. That's all it is. Give us money. You know it, and I know it.
Exactly. More money. That's what this is. Just more friggin' money for this crap. And I'm tired. And people talk about America being overly Sue happy, right? This is the kind of crap that happens. The problem with it is whatever happened to individual accountability and responsibility. And don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that the guy sitting in the back seat of his brother's Tesla right? Is you know, I'm not saying that he did anything wrong. Okay, I'm just saying if you're going to focus on people who did something wrong, why aren't you focusing on the guy who was driving the vehicle? Obviously, something happened here. Now, I've been on Atlanta roads, folks, and one of the problems that they have is they got a real problem with rubbernecking. They have a real problem with rubbernecking. All right, because their normal speed driving on those freaking freeways is 70 miles an hour. Even if it's posted 35, 40, 45, 50, right? The normal ones would be 60 to 55 miles an hour. But they do speed there. That is very true. Okay? But at 9 p.m., all right, I don't think that the Amazon truck is out for delivery. And if you are, if Amazon is sending their people out to do deliveries at 9 p.m., right? You'd better be paying these guys one hell of a lot of money. Okay? Because one of the reasons why you don't want those guys out at that time, quite frankly, is that's when the hoodlums do stick-ups.
Yep.
Okay? And if you're driving in the wrong neighborhood, all right, and you've got you know, all the Christmas presents for the little goodies at 12 p.m. down in some of the areas. Well, if you get stuck, you know, if you get held up, it's not that it's not that it should happen, but it's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it is going to happen. I can tell you right now how they would do things. There would be people that would order things for people who have no idea who they are to have it delivered at a specific time, right? Just so they could rob the truck.
Yeah.
And you would never catch them, right? And the person whose house the guy stopped and dropped the package off, the guy's like, "Well, what's this?" "Well, it's the package from somebody that ordered it for you." "Oh, okay, I guess it's a Christmas present, you know." Mm-hmm. He looks back and there's like 3 guys in his truck driving off with it. Okay, well.
It makes sense that they're doing that. Is it right? No. Is it a good way of doing it? Unfortunately, yes. That's how you basically going to make your money. Plus, of course, worst case scenario, you get what little you can get for actually selling the truck as well. So it's a win-win-win. It really is.
Yeah. And I'm going to say one more thing. And I know this is going to sound callous. But Rana's family is hardly destitute. Okay? Just putting it out there. This is not like a guy who's you know just getting over it and finally got out of his you know his job because he's trying to make ends meet with his kids and he's driving home with his kids. All right, for the first time that he's been able to get away from the you know the 12-hour grind, and so he stops to try and help somebody and somebody plows into him. Right, Rana's family is well-to-do. Okay, you can see that from the pictures, and you can see that from what these guys. The fact that he was in a Tesla. Come on.
That's what I was waiting for you to mention the Tesla. That right there is the proof.
Right. So, and it's not that I have anything against it, and I don't feel for these guys and think that, but they're just doing this. The only reason they're doing this is they see it as a pot of money. They don't give a shit about their brother. You know, they don't care about Rana and the fact that he's hurt. They're all about the Benjamins, right? I'm sorry, but you're not going to convince me any other way, right?
I agree.
Just put it out there.
Like I said, it's not right, but it is unfortunately the way things are nowadays. Oh, yeah. Disgusting as that may be.
Now, if we're going to talk about things that are hyperinflated. Hypersonic sticker shock. U.S. weapons may run $106 million each. Okay. I, I don't see a problem with this. Okay. We'll talk. Sounds big. Sounds like a lot of money. Hypersonic weapons that can fly 5 times the speed of sound, and will add 21.5 billion to the Navy's budget and 7 billion to the Army's in the coming years, according to an estimate compiled by the Pentagon's Independent Cost Assessment Office. This is the first authoritative evaluation of how much the services may spend to develop, build the agile, speedy new missiles that can fly low and evade radar and missile defenses, based on the Internal Defense Department estimates. Okay, first of all, where do they get this idea that these hypersonic missiles are flying low?
Good question, because that will make a damn sight easy to hear. Let's be honest, it's to go low they're going to cause the sonic shockwave. But what you're not thinking about here, okay, is there is a way to actually make these missiles far faster than they are. Would you like to know what it is?
Sure.
You paint them red. Everyone knows red ones go faster.
Okay, all right. So you're thinking
Had
that
to be done, man.
instead of the $100 million, if they just used a 5-gallon bucket of paint, they'd be good to go.
Exactly.
Okay.
See, I'm trying to save money for people,
Okay.
but as usual, no one listens.
All right. The global competition to develop hypersonics was underscored by China's reported test of 2 such weapons over the summer, including a launch into space. Excuse me, but the term low-flying missile and space don't equate, right?
No.
Now, you look at this, and this thing is $100 million per missile, according to these idiots, right?
Huh?
Which is not an accurate assessment at all from the way when you read this. What it is they're talking about the development and everything else with this, right?
Yeah.
And developing a hypersonic missile, if you that stays within the atmosphere, okay. Why? All right. Nothing against anybody, but sure, I know why the Russians want it. I know why the Chinese want it, because they're terrified of our anti-missile ballistic systems. Our anti-ballistic missile systems. I mean, they are coming online. They've been shown to be fairly effective. They're not 100%, but when you place them in depth, right? When you have one after another, that you got to go through a series of these things. Even if the first one fails, the second one probably won't fail, and definitely the third tier won't. That's how you stack these things, right?
Yeah.
It's a natural, it's a natural progression of how these things work. So they want the ability to, bypass that and be able to attack very rapidly. Okay. But there's problems with doing this. Okay? And that is accuracy.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Okay. We had a thing I think everyone's heard of, right? Called the SR-71. Right? The SR-71 Blackbird. You remember that? I'm sure.
Yeah, I actually quite liked it. Yeah.
Right? Now this thing flew. It wasn't hypersonic, but it was pretty doggone quick. Okay?
Yeah.
It was flying Mach 3 plus. Okay? It could take off and land traveling from LA to Boston in under an hour.
Nice.
Okay? And if you know anything about takeoffs and landings, you're not traveling at the same speed when you're taking off and landing as you are when you're at altitude. Right? So that gives you an idea of just how fast these things are. That thing was, right? when it needed to make a turn, the turn it took was the size of Texas. Okay? Right? You're not turning on a dime. Okay?
Dude. What is wrong with going Mach 2 at 10 foot above the ground? There's nothing wrong with it at all. I think it'd be fine, wouldn't it?
Okay, first of all, it's like a freaking. It's if you try to do something like that, the amount of ground damage and so forth that you'd be falling into from the shock wave would be so immense.
Yeah.
Right? To be honest, it would do more freaking damage than the warhead did when it hit. Right?
Yeah.
And there's a problem with hypersonic systems, okay, that fly in the atmosphere. It's called heat. Okay?
Yeah.
We did a lot of tests, right, with the X-15 project. Right? Do you know what the X-15 is?
The jet, yes. Well,
yeah.
yes.
Let me pull up an image. I'm sure we can pull up an image of an X-15 here. Let me a chance to go to the Google machine here.
Everyone knows Google tells the complete truth.
Well, but it's got images. That's one of the reasons for it.
Yeah, that's actually a fair statement. Yeah.
All right. And let's.
By the way, my point about the painting missiles red is still true. Have you ever seen a red missile? No, because it's going too fast. Okay? What? I'm not wrong.
Well, okay. That might be true. Okay, so this is an X-15. Okay. Now, these things were dropped from B-52s. Right? You climbed into this thing, right? They attached it to a B-52. The B-52 would fly up to altitude, right? And it would drop this thing, and it didn't drop this thing from a bomb bay because it was too big. It dropped it from it was next to a wing. They would drop it from the wing, right? And this thing would fall until the engines kicked in, and then it would go on its mission. Now, this project, these guys were the first ones in space. People don't know this. They actually reached space.
Okay.
And it was suborbital, granted, but they reached space. In fact, one of them crashed because it reached space. He had no controls, and when he came back in, he wasn't that nice little, when you come back into the atmosphere. You kind of don't want to be in off center.
Yeah. The warmth could be a bit of a bugger, I have to say.
So one of them came back. It wasn't off center. It was a bit off center and didn't survive. But in addition to flying very, very high and setting altitude records, they said, well, let's see just how fast we can run this thing. Right? They got this thing to Mach 6. All right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, everybody knows what happens when you do, high velocity testing, because they all know everything heats up and everything, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
What they did is they painted this thing with special paint that they thought would work. It burned it off. It burned off the heat-resistant paint. Just smoked it off. In fact, the guy, when he landed it, they were very lucky to have landed it because the leading edges of the especially towards the interiors here, had started to burn through.
Oh, okay.
All right, and this thing didn't turn. Okay.
No.
All right, just to let people know, this thing doesn't turn. So, if you attempt to turn, now granted, a missile has one advantage: it doesn't have a human being in it. So if you pull 13 Gs, you don't have to worry about the pilot getting knocked out because the pilot isn't there. But even a 13 G turn, all right, the G forces, the differential in the forces that are going to be present at a lower altitude when you're trying to turn like that are going to rip the thing apart. It's one of the problems that you have when a plane is in too steep a dive and they try to pull out. Yeah, at times it'll start to pull out, and then the wings kind of like go, you know what? We're just not going to be part of this body anymore. there goes the right wing.
Oh, it makes it lighter, then it goes faster. Everyone knows that.
It does make it lighter. So, I mean, it amazes me that people have been terrified of these hypersonic weapons, because it's like, look, I understand what the Russians are doing it, why they're doing it, because they're trying to find a cheap way to compete with the anti-ballistic missile systems. That's what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
Right? And they need to have this, because the other way to compete with the anti-ballistic missile systems, right, is just build so many nukes that you overwhelm it. Right?
Yeah.
The problem with doing that is building a nuclear weapon and maintaining a nuclear weapon for any length of time is not an easy thing. Okay? They're not.
Mm-hmm.
Things break down very quickly. And this is one of the reasons why they don't want to go that route. Of course, the Russians are, in order to gain that speed, also, you need to have the fuel to do it. Right?
Yeah.
Well, the Russians came up with a better solution. We'll just use a reactor. Their missiles spray radiation. Right, to fly.
Don't see that being bad.
Well, it can be real bad when you're trying to test it and it sprays radiation all over your frickin' testing area.
Oh, no, whoa. Actually, that could be used as a weapon all on its own. Imagine something spraying out radiation as it flies over your cities. If you could actually control that, which probably wouldn't actually be as difficult as it first sounds, you could actually use that as a weapon itself. Yes, I know it's going into old dirty weapons, but hey, I'm one that actually thinks that bioweapons are good.
As a terror weapon, yes. As any kind of real damage I mean, can it hurt people? Yes. Will it hurt, hundreds of thousands and millions of people that a nuclear bomb will? No. Right?
That's just it. It doesn't actually need to. Because if that goes over military bases, yes, the military base is probably safe. But it means that things can't get into the military base, such as, I don't know, supplies. It could be a first-use weapon to slow down your opponent.
How long does radiation last? How dangerous is it? What levels is it at?
Yeah.
How long does it stick around? And the thing about spraying radiation everywhere is radiation particles, radioactive material, tends to float, right? Which is one of the reasons why when wind and dirt kick it up, people get concerned. Yeah. So it's not the most effective weapons unless you want yourself to be as, if you use enough of it to hurt the enemy really, then it's going to come back and hurt you too. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Right. Now,
just pointing out is a way it could be used, that's all.
Yeah. Now, granted, when you don't care about your populace, which the Chinese and the Russians don't, you can look at that, right? But these hypersonic weapons, folks. I mean, all right. Let me. Everyone talks about, the Chinese have a hypersonic weapon. Okay, yeah, they did test their hypersonic weapons, right? They did try to hit a target. Okay. Now these weapons are supposed to have nuclear bombs in it, right? Nuclear weapons, right? So close counts and hand grenades and nuclear weapons, right?
Or not? Yeah.
Well, yeah, but close means you're within a few hundred feet, a few hundred yards, right? Not a few dozen miles. Okay? They missed their target by miles, by dozens of miles. Okay, basically, if you were trying to hit L.A., you you hit Tucumcari, right? Oops. Okay. We're gonna try and hit Washington. Yeah. We hit we hit outside of Baltimore. We don't even know what we hit. We didn't even hit
Yeah.
Baltimore.
Let's be fair, if someone lobbed a nuclear bomb at Baltimore, they'd just steal it, and you know it. Yeah, I said it. I said it. I don't care.
There's some truth to that. There is some truth to that. But yeah, you know, let's say you were trying to hit Omaha, and you missed by a few dozen miles. You hit farmland. All right, Bessie's having a bad day. All right, Farmer Brown is probably not too happy. Everyone else is looking at that and going, huh? Imagine that.
From Sean. So China's the A-team of terrorism. He's not wrong. He really is not wrong with that.
It's like, okay, you know, if you can be close and hand grenades and nuclear weapons, that's dozens of miles. And so the idea that somehow the United States has this gap, right, that it can't make up, right? I'm not saying that the Chinese aren't a threat, right? They definitely are, right? But
Yeah.
you don't need to sit up there and worry about things from China that you don't need to worry about. If you're going to be worried about China, you need to worry about what they've been doing in the South China Sea. You need to worry about what they're going to do to Taiwan and Japan. Okay, you don't need to be worried about a freaking hypersonic missile that can't hit a target.
Yeah.
You know, they're painting, or they've done full mock-ups of U.S. warships, right? That they put on rails, right?
Yeah.
And so that they can try and take target practice and practice hitting moving targets, right? Which, okay, yeah, you know, I can see what they're doing, but that tells you right there their idea of accuracy. They don't even think that they can do it, right? That they have to practice accuracy, okay? Now, what makes up for accuracy? Okay. If you only hit 1 in 10 times, well, okay. So how do you make up for that? Shoot 11.
More DACA.
Exactly. Exactly. All right. Fire more. Right. The more you throw, the better the chance you have of actually hitting what you want. Okay. It's an old concept.
At the end of the day, okay, if 1 in 10 of your missiles are going to hit, you just launch to the power of 10 the number of missiles you're going to launch anyway. You're going to hit what you want just literally because you can't really hit anything else. You already hit everything else. Let's be fair. And it will be good for getting through the anti-missile shields as well. Yeah. So, at the end of the day, what are you going to shoot? That one missile, excellent, brilliant, great. Now, what about those other 50? Okay.
Well, yeah, it becomes dangerous like that. But so the fact that they're doing that, it's a threat, and they are intending to go to war with the United States. There's no doubt in my mind. Okay, but are they able to go to the war with the United States right now in an effective manner? Not quite. Okay, is what they're doing dangerous? Yes. Would a war with China be something that we could simply just easily win? No. Okay. Now, because quite frankly, they have weight in numbers. Okay? You have weight in numbers. And it's a power in and of itself. Now, there are mitigating factors, I'm not going to deny that, but there are weight in numbers. Sure, they don't have as many ships, but they got plenty of artillery, and it's all they put it all along the coast for some reason. You don't know why, you know? It's not to say that all their systems are junk. No, they have some good systems. People don't understand that. Are their systems top tier? No. All right, and will they have problems if it comes to a war with the United States? if they initiate a war, if they initiate the war, understand this, with the United States, they have to win it quickly, because if
Yeah.
if it takes too much time, then all it's going to do is grind them down. They do not have the internal logistics to sit up there and manage a long term war. Okay, so if it turns into a world war, it's the same problem that the Germans had during World War II. Right, when they attacked Russia, they had to beat Russia immediately. Russia had to collapse because they had to fight in Russia long term. They knew they were going to lose. Guess what? The Russians didn't quit. Okay, so
Yeah.
that was one of the major mistakes. The idea that your enemies are going to quit, and quite frankly, that's one of the things that Hitler counted on, is that enemies were going to quit. Britain was going to quit after after a little bit. Honestly, that's what he
Yeah.
thought. Right? He went into Poland thinking that once he conquers Poland, he'll talk to the British for a little bit and continue on his merry little way.
Didn't work out so well for him, did it?
No. No, not him, nor the German people. Right?
No.
Speaking of the Russians, U.S. says Russia will be making a serious mistake as it warns it is looking at ways of dealing with Lukashenko as the UK sends troops to Poland after Putin provokes the West by deploying troops to Belarus and sending bombers over the North Sea. All right. Belarus hit back as the defense minister said the West is trying to initiate conflict and he will respond harshly. The games came after Belarus and Russia held military drills near the border with UK troops deployed to beef up defenses. Russia also flew 2 nuclear-capable bombers close to the UK with RAF Typhoons deployed to escort them. Typhoons? Typhoons? Okay, now the nuclear-capable bombers are the backfire bombers. This is 1950s, 1960s technology, and you intercepted them with Typhoons, 1980s technology. Really?
Why should we waste our time with the good technology? We'll just send up the rubbish.
What are you going to bring the Vulcan bombers out of mothballs and then you send them over next?
Possibly.
I mean...
Possibly. Like it or not, they were actually quite good, and the sound they made would scare the living crap out of the enemy as well. But what you're not pointing out is that, again, it's bloody Poland. I mean, has the world not got the hint yet? 100 years ago, a loony decided, oh, let's attack Poland, and that went really well for him. And now the Russians are doing this? Really? Really, people? Come on. Pick somewhere else, eh? Gain a brain cell, just a novelty factor.
Well, it doesn't help when Kamala makes comments like, oh, these are troubling actions and the world is watching. And... Okay, I mean, so?
Yep.
What are you going to do about it, Kamala?
Let's say we launch her at the enemy. Everyone okay with this?
You going to sit up there and withhold for a week or two? Is that what your plan is? That'll stop good old Vlad?
She's going to laugh at them. That's all she's going to do, mate. She's going to laugh at them and scare them off.
She's going to... Cease and desist or I'll cackle again.
Although you're laughing, okay, they probably think that she's Baba Yaga and are just going to wet themselves like, it's a witch, run away.
I don't think the Russians did that with their witches. They didn't play the same kind of silly bugger games.
No, but they did with Baba Yaga. I mean, if you know anything, she was one of them ones that they definitely thought to themselves, maybe not, eh?
No. Belarus, all right, is basically what they're threatening to do is just create a corridor of Islamic migrants, right, to flow into Europe, right?
Yeah.
And people are upset about that. At which point it's like, okay, well, deal with it. Learn to speak Arabic. You
Yeah.
guys on the continent, you might want to start speaking Arabic.
I actually think that we should turn them towards Russia, and that way they can deal with the bloody things. But let's be honest, the Russians would deal with them oh so suddenly.
The Russians would hand them over to China. we have some people that want to visit the Uyghurs.
Yeah. Can't see that going badly, can you?
You know, I
Oh
mean,
no, come on. You know full well the left would immediately step forth and do absolutely nothing.
well, that's
Because
why
they are
that's why I'm waiting.
scared.
I want this to. I'll be honest with you. I almost want this
Mhm.
to blow up, not because I want to see people dead, right? But I think right now, right? I think Germany, France, the rest of those assholes in there, right? That have always freaking taken the piss out of the United States, bitching and bitching and bitching and bitching, right? And who don't really support us, right?
Mhm.
And I mean it. I mean that directly, right? Where basically
Yeah.
you want to play your freaking silly little bugger games. Well, you're about to get a lesson because one of the things that Lyshenko is threatening to do, right, is not just open the spigot and let the Islamists have at it. Okay, his real threat is I'll turn off all of your fuel. I'll turn off your heating gas
Yeah.
and enjoy your green economy. Okay, how's that household doing? Is that windmill keeping you warm? Those solar panels at night, they're really helping a whole lot, aren't they? And he's serious.
Well,
He is.
well, I
Luzhenko is
know.
serious. Luzhenko's. I mean, he's upset, and he has reasons to be, right? Not the least of which is they are treating him. Or he's a bloodthirsty dictator. So's Erdogan. Why should he be being treated any differently than the way Erdogan's treated?
Yeah.
Seriously. And no, do you have people calling to basically embargo Turkey right now? Aside from the United States, which because we want to do it, but that's a separate issue. that's
No, you don't. I agree.
Personally, if it was up to me, I'd leave Turkey and tell the Russians, hey, we
All
don't
yours,
get
buddy.
yeah. They say they're in NATO. No, they're not. Okay, all right. Just so you understand, they're not really NATO. They're pretend NATO. They're like France.
Not so much NATO, more NATO. Let's be fair.
Right.
But yeah, I see where you're coming.
Right. Besides, so you're sending your tornadoes over, right?
Mhm. Typhoons. Come
Typhoon.
on.
Well, okay, whatever.
Thank you.
Is this why? Because they're being flown by dogs? I taught two
Oh,
dogs. I taught two dogs to fly a plane. I've been a pet behavioralist for more than 25 years and have worked in the film industry. Right, helping animals perform on camera. I trained a 900 or a 190-kilogram boar to pretend to attack an actor, a cat to plunge shoulder deep into water as if it's catching a fish, and a cockatoo to winch up a bucket, right? Take out a coin and drop it into a piggy bank. When the company asked if I could teach a dog to fly, I faced my toughest challenge of my career. I believe this guy did. The problem is you said yes. You should have said no. All right? I hate to tell you this, but if you're going up there to teach Fido to fly, oh look, Fido's flying, bam! It doesn't take much. Okay?
to be honest, okay, you got to think that this is a really good insult to China, Korea, and that lot. We think so little of you. We're using dogs to do it. I mean, that's not bad.
Yeah, okay, yeah, but there's a difference between flying and this thing says it put a bit in its teeth and pulled off a figure 8. Right? Was that because the dog is just like shaking his head, and the plane was like,
My God, he's a master pilot. We can't hit him. Look at how chaotic his flying is. Yeah, yeah.
you know, I mean, just this is good. Stories like this are going to lead people to think that, well, I can fly. They're going to start believing those stupid stories, right? Now, I was watching one of these shows that talk about you know, crashes and stuff, right? Called Mayday, right?
Hmm.
And they dissect crashes that happened or near crashes. Some of them are near
Yeah.
crashes, right? And the various things that can go wrong, right? And one of the
Hmm.
crashes, what went wrong is a guy let a kid sit in the cockpit of the
God.
plane, right? And
Hmm.
the kid was turning the plane, right? The
Hmm.
problem is that the autopilot was supposed to be on, and when the kid was turning the plane wasn't supposed to turn, right? Because the autopilot was supposed to be on, right? And it just so happens that they didn't know about this new feature. Sure, the autopilot's on, and yeah, it's engaged, but only partially.
Hmm.
Right? So when the kid put it in a basically he put it in a condition where the plane started to bank, and then of course it banked over, and then power dove into the ground. Right? This is it shouldn't have happened. Right? It didn't. It happened because the the expectations of the pilot and the expectations of everybody else didn't match what was actually happening, right?
Yeah.
And it shouldn't.
Um,
Go ahead.
Sean has something he wants to say. He taught them to fly. Did he teach them to take off and land? Now that, you gotta admit, if he done that, that's impressive.
Can you imagine if we sent dogs and cats to fly planes, all right, in combat? Can you hear? You can hear the cry now, all right? You think the people that are bitching about animal testing are all up in arms now? Right? Can you imagine if you were raising Fluffy, right? Right to fly the F-15 and save your bacon and drop missiles on the enemy?
It's a thing, isn't it?
Can you imagine what Omegon would say? Right? Now Omegon is an animal lover, right? He loves
Oh yeah.
animals, right? And he absolutely death on people that abuse animals. But if you traded a
Oh
dog
gosh, yeah.
to fly into combat, can you imagine what his response would be? I'm coming
Yeah,
down.
I don't think he'd be quite impressed, would he?
Yeah, he's like him and Cthulhu and his buddy Cthulhu they're gonna enact everything now. The hell with waiting. He's gotta save Fido. Fido's gotta be saved.
No lives matter, all lives splatter. You know full well that would happen.
just put it out there. Just put it out there. This is how you know it's end of times. This guy's teaching a freaking dog how to fly.
Yeah, I did say one thing in chat, okay? Landing a plane is easy. Any idiot can land it. Landing it safely is a bugger. Okay? Just
All right,
it's
first,
a technical definition of landing.
well, you're gonna land sooner or later.
Exactly.
Landing in a single piece with the plane and the vehicle in a single piece, a little tougher, right? Um,
Having the pilot survive is probably the main bugger here, I have to say.
well, I mean, we could make it so the pilot survives. None of the passengers did, but pilot's fine.
Hmm.
We could do that too. I mean, just put the
Yeah.
out there, right? I mean, think about it. These are the things. These are the things that will be happening. So basically, you're using 1980s technology so you can sit up there and put Rover up in the sky.
Yeah.
It's not even like what's that movie Chicken Run, right? Where they had chickens building planes,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
You're
it's
not even
not. It's an idea.
just it's not a good one.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if Rover had a bad day because he peed on the carpet and you smacked his nose? Like, okay. Oh, train
Gotcha,
run, huh?
bitch.
So
Yep.
he thought peeing on the carpet was bad? Let's see what a hellfire does to your house.
Yeah.
Oh, where's that cat? I've been looking for that son of a
I
bitch for
get
a
you now,
while.
you bastard hiding in a tree. What up? Mm-hmm.
Thought you were safe, huh? Like the fact that I didn't have claws to climb that tree. Climb this!
Mm-hmm. I could go wolf or I could launch a maverick now. Which one am I thinking?
Let's see here. Let's see. Gatling gun or Hellfire missile.
Chris has actually made a point. Squirrel. That would be.
God. Target acquired. Going for a squirrel. Oh shit! They deployed the decoy squirrels. The
Oh,
decoy squirrels.
you can see it happening, can't you?
Oh my god.
Oh.
Decoy squirrels away.
Mm-hmm. Oh dear.
Dogs versus cats. The cats have deployed decoy squirrels.
Well, if you think about it, okay, you got chaff as the self-defense on most planes. That's going to work on cats as well. I mean,
Well,
sparkly bits of paper, cats are all there.
well, that's the thing
So
is you don't put the red dot on the cat. You put the red dot on the ground, right? Because the cats will come.
yeah, it's true.
All right.
I'll get that red dot now. Dive. Mm-hmm.
Of course, dogs go after the red dot too. They're like
Yeah.
that could be part of the problem as well. Yeah, flying cat squadron would be quite interesting, like the old that stupid movie, not Buck Rogers, uh, the stupid space movie.
Yeah. No. Sorry.
I cannot think of the name of it. With
I'm
Ming
just
the
glad you didn't.
with Ming the Merciless.
Oh, Flash Gordon.
Flash Gordon, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Right, where they got the Hawkman with those flying things. Instead of flying
Yeah.
Hawkman, it would be cool to have flying cats. Could you see a flying Panther Man with wings like that? That would
Launch
be freaking
flappy
awesome.
bastards. Yep.
Dive! Cause that's what it reminded me when you said dive. Dive!
Yeah.
Because that's part of that thing.
Quite cool though, wouldn't it? Terrifying. I'm really glad you didn't come up with the Tomcats as the the fighter planes. I don't think that'd go too well. Do you?
No. I really don't. To everybody else here, I'm going to kind of move this on over a little bit here and get that kind of out of the way. For all those people who don't understand why testing on animals is necessary, here's an example. This injectable gel reversed paralysis in mice. Humans could be next. All right, paralysis might one day be easy to cure as a single injection of a drug if some promising new test results stand up to scrutiny. Scientists at Northwestern University reversed paralysis in mice with spinal cord injuries by injecting them with a self-assembling gel that can repair tissue. We don't know if the findings published in the Journal of Science will translate over to humans, but for nearly 1.5 million people in the United States alone living with paralysis caused by spinal cord injuries. The study provides a glimmer of hope, especially for a condition that is less than 3% of the where a condition where less than 3% of people fully recover. Currently, there are no therapeutics that could trigger spinal cord regeneration. Northwestern's Samuel Stoop, who led the study, said in a statement, "Our body's central nervous system, which includes the brain and the spinal cord, does not have a significant capacity to repair itself after injury or after the onset of degenerative disease. Experimental treatments like stem cells or gene therapy have never yielded very good results. The new gel is designed to act as kind of a scaffolding for cells in the spinal cord and make it easier for them to grow." Now, this is a very interesting type of treatment, because not only do you have to provide the scaffolding, you've also got to cause the cells to want to grow, right? So it's not just a single thing, right? It's not just, oh look, we'll get some gelatin brand gelatin. No, not the grape. I need the raspberry. Inject it into your spine. No, it's not how it works. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. You also have to have material that causes the cells to want to start to grow, to try and repair themselves. Right. Now, stem cells are actually pretty good at that, except for the fact that they don't provide any kind of layout. Actually, right. And what happens is if the cells do decide to grow, they grow in whatever manner they so desire. Does that make sense? So basically, they become a tumor, right? It's one of the most dangerous. One of the things with the early stem cells research that they ran into is they killed people with cancer. They gave people cancer by giving them stem cells, right? I'm not lying about this, folks. Right?
No.
I know a lot of people have talked about stem cells and they think it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. No, it's not. Okay, but we've come a long way, which is one of the reasons why we no longer think that fetal stem cells are the way to go. Mainly because fetal stem cells, you don't know what they're going to grow into. All right, adult stem cells, which there's several areas where adult stem cells exist, they have more control over. Right. So there have been some promising things, but in areas where damage has been done, like to your spinal cord, this could be ground shaking. This could be groundbreaking. If you can repair the spinal cord, right? People that get broken backs will no longer be, quadruplegics or paraplegic. I mean, this would be a great thing. This really would.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But how are you going to test this? Are you going to now, Jensen? Your suggestion. I'm just.
You know where it's going. You know where this is going.
Just because a guy was caught speeding doesn't mean he volunteered to be a test subject.
Yes, he did. Did he break the law? Yes. If breaking the law, you can then go in for service for your country. That counts as volunteering. And let's be completely honest, and this is actually my serious point of it. It's all well and good testing it on the animals, but eventually you've got to test it on humans anyway. So why not just cut out the middleman? I know people are going to go, oh my God, what a concept. Look at all these people that they put in as lifers. And I mean true life. Not like 40 years, 30 years, whatever. No, I'm talking true life. You tax people are paying for this all the bloody way. Why not just take them in and actually use them to test on? If they live, awesome. If they don't, no loss.
Look, Joseph. just because you're deeming certain people to be undesirables, Which, well, quite frankly, you think everyone's undesirable, but that's a separate issue. All right.
No, I disagree with you. I think they're all desirable. Every single person can be used for something. Food being one of them.
Food only being one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, look,
I
look, seriously, dude. What is? I mean, do you really like the idea of paying hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars every year to keep some loony nut job in prison that has done acts that would make anyone that counts as sane be horrified, but because they're in a state that doesn't believe in execution, they'll live. Well, at least I'm getting use out of them.
Yeah, but the
Okay?
use the people will put them to is this. Playing God inside Russia's horror humanese experiments, which saw apes inseminated with human sperm in a bid to breed super soldiers. What are you going to do when you turned him into a mad killer with the attributes of an ape?
Cough, cough, Island of Dr. Moreau. Cough, cough, cough.
All right. A power-hungry scientist and evil dictator bidding to create super soldiers using humans and apes sounds like the stuff of science fiction. However, during the Russia's Soviet era of Joseph Stalin poured money into a sensational experiment which involved injecting human sperm into female gorillas, and even more shocking, now this is the thing that gets me. Why did you say the even more shocking part? Inseminating human women with the seed of primates.
Mm-hmm.
Stalin ordered renowned scientist Ilya Ivanov, all right, to create that sounds like a name that you would expect for an experiment like this. All right, to create an invincible breed of Red Army soldiers. Secret documents released in the 1990s showed. The archive papers say that the Kremlin chief demanded that these mutant warriors be resilient and resistant to hunger. In other words, they're resistant to hunger because they just rip your face and eat
Yeah,
it. Ready-made meals to go. He said that they should be
yeah.
of immense strength, but with underdeveloped brains. Is this really
I'm
what
not
you
saying
want?
it. I'm not saying it.
Liberals. Anyway, they're just missing the immense strength part. Kind of screwed up on that part.
Yeah.
Stalin wanted them to work on railway construction. What? You're gonna you're gonna breed these things, and your first thought is they'll work good on trains.
I want to interrupt you for a sec. Hey, Andrew Bollocks. Good to see you, mate. Been a while. Alright, carry on.
Scientist Ivanov had made his name at the turn of the century by perfecting artificial insemination in horses, proving that the sperm from one male stallion could impregnate up to 500 females. Notice he doesn't say female horses. This is what scares
No.
me. Right? He then began experimenting with hybridization, all right, and tried to create a super horse by crossing with animals like zebras. Ivanov
Hmm.
and the Soviet leaders became interested in the possibility of crossing humans with their closest relatives in radical experiments which would enhance the reputation of. This would not enhance the reputation of Russian science, folks. I don't know where they thought that this was going to enhance. This is not a resume enhancer, okay? just putting it out there. The term
Well, just a
humanese.
minor point, dude. One thing, just a minor point. Wonder if this is what was going on with those two dogs in the aeroplane. Just saying. That got ya. That made you think, didn't it?
The term humanese was coined later in the 20th century and refers to human-chimp crossbred, a scientifically possible hybridization. In 1924, Ivanov put his proposals for the warped hybridization experiment to the Soviet government and received funding for a trip to Africa to collect animals. And despite his work being controversial, he just got a freaking. Right, he managed to secure support from the Pasteur Institute in Paris, the French. No,
Gosh.
what a surprise!
Do you need to say any more? Really? I mean, yeah. By the way, Operation Crazy Ivan. Okay, people like to point out that it's a load of crap. Uh huh. Sure.
However, when he arrived at the research center, he discovered that the chimps were not mature enough to take part in the experiment. Huh? You're going to the pounds of breeding chimps with human beings, and you're worried about their age. I think so. He might be a mad scientist, but he's not a pedophile.
No,
There's hope for humanity yet.
he's a moral guy. What can I say?
Oh, then he began researching how best to capture and subdue the animals. The scientist wrote to the ruling Politburo, the biggest problem is to catch living females. Researchers learned to torch trees and chase apes into cages as they scampered down. He managed to inseminate 3 chimps with human sperm, but none of the beasts fell pregnant. Ivanov reported that African women had been seized to be impregnated with ape sperm, but no pregnancies resulted. Female gorillas were sent to receive human sperm as well before the experiments were shut down. Dude,
Yeah.
you know, how do we know if any of this is true? Right? That was shut down, I mean. Right?
Oh yeah.
Right, he
Well,
headed back to the Soviet Union, set up an ape nursery with 20 chimps in the subtropical Republic of Abkhazia, all right, near Georgia. When his project failed, Ivanov was arrested in the 1930s. He became one of the millions rounded up by a paranoid Stalin and later died in a labor camp. Gee, I really feel
mm-hmm.
bad, right? Alexander Etkind, a Russian historian at Cambridge University, said Ivanov wanted to prove that apes evolved from men. So men existed, and then apes came from the men.
Yeah.
Okay.
By the way,
He told the new scientist if he crossed an ape and a human and produced a viable offspring, then it would mean that Darwin was right about how closely related we are. Okay, that part that may or may not be true, but at the same time, and I say may or may not be true. Obviously, to an extent, it seems to be true, but there's without actual knowledge, we don't know for a fact. So that's why I say may
huh?
or may not. But yeah, the idea that we are genetically, I mean, they tell everybody that we're 97, 98% genetically the same.
Yeah.
Well, then how come we can't breed? Right? In 2005, ape skeletons were found in the Black Sea town of Shukmia in Georgia by workmen building a kids' playground. It's thought that the animals were among the creatures captured for research in the 1920s experiments, which cost Stalin 8,500 pounds, more than
Mm.
220 million pounds in today's money. Inflation has really hit the pound, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just putting it out there.
And just something I've got to say, and I'm now going to technically be defending the Russians in a roundabout manner. See, we're going on about the Russians doing all this. You know that America actually wants to do this. They want to actually get some of their troopers and inject them with things like cat DNA so as they get the eyesight of cats and wolf DNA so as they get the other senses of the wolf. And they want that as standard for the troopers. Wow! Be interesting if they do it, though.
Yeah,
Got to say, it'll be interesting.
it would be interesting, right? But the fact that you're trying to do these kind of whacked out experiments, and do you like how he slipped her and used the term? Well, we captured African women to inseminate.
Yeah. Yeah.
But really, the Russians, they're good people. The communism at its best. We're capturing women to inseminate. If you
Yeah.
listen to the left, this is what they want for you and your children. Just put it out there. Time for a kitty story. Cheetahs,
One
fast.
thing one thing before you do, okay? This would be one step towards getting cat girls. I'm just pointing this out. Cat girls would be something that could come from this. Carry on, mate.
You're a long ways from going to cat girls with hybridization. Right? Cheetahs, fast running to extinction as cub trade thrives. Tiny, week-old cheetah cubs suckled from baby bottles and purred weakly, their condition still dangerously precarious after their rescue from the Horn of Africa's illegal wildlife trade. Around half the cubs saved from the traffickers do not survive the trauma, and there are real concerns for the smallest of the lot, the frail infant named Green, which weighs 700 grams or 25 ounces. It was very touch and go with Green, said Laura Marker, founder of Cheetah Conservation Fund, CCF. Why do all these things sound like communist organizations? CCF, CCP. I just, just putting it out there, all right? Inspecting the Mulene cub at a non-profit organization's rescue center in Somaliland. They were the lucky ones. Every year, an estimated 300 cheetah cubs are trafficked through Somaliland to wealthy buyers in the Middle East seeking exotic pets. Snatched from their mothers and shipped out of Africa to war-torn Yemen and onward to the Gulf, cubs that survive the ordeal fetch up to $15,000 on the black market. It's a busy trade, one less familiar than the criminal markets for elephant ivory or rhino horn, but equally devastating for Africa's most endangered big cat. Okay, let's talk about cheetahs for a moment. Now, everybody knows that cheetahs are, from what we can find, what we've done so far, the fastest land animal we've tracked. Right? They can reach speeds in a sprint for very short distances of up to 50, 60 miles an hour. Right?
And the rest.
Now, cheetahs, however, are not large. Okay, yeah, that's a big cat, but you outweigh a cheetah generally, right?
Oh, God, yeah.
Cheetahs only weigh about, 70 pounds? 80 pounds or
They,
something like that, right?
yeah, a large dog weighs more.
Yeah. Now, and there's several other things about cheetahs that people don't know about. First of all, in the genetic feline, trade, right, or traits, right? They have the oldest lineage, meaning they are closest to the ancestor than any of the other big cats. Okay? So, the fact that they haven't changed a whole lot is due to several things, right? Not the least of which is, and people don't know this, for thousands of years, all right, the royal family in Egypt, the pharaohs, right, kept cheetahs as pets, and I'm talking like as pet cats. Okay, not as oh look, I've got a cage with the cheetah. No, they had them walk with them. They would pet them. They're cats. They all purr, right?
Hmm?
They can be semi-domesticated. Okay, in that they're not perfectly domesticatable, but they can be domesticated like your domestic cats to an extent, right?
Hmm?
They'll come when called at points. Okay, but they're, of all the big cats, they're the most frail, and that doesn't change from when they're cubs to when they're full grown. Even when they're full grown, they are not the they are not the terror of the plains. Okay, sure,
Hmm.
they can take down an impala, But you know what they can't take down? Can't take down a wildebeest.
Oh
Okay,
no.
um, they they, uh, they are hunted by the other big cats who don't like them poaching on their territory, right? Which is one of the reasons why they try to avoid lions, right, and jaguars, right, panthers, because or leopards, because these things they're very specialized, okay, and that's where the problem is. They're overly specialized. They can, for example, and I was mentioning this to Jensen, you couldn't find a place in the United States where these things would survive. Okay, there's nowhere in the U.S. where they would survive, and the reason for it is the plains area that they would have to exist in. Sure, we have a plains, we have the Great Plains, right? And what's on the Great Plains, right? Well, you got farms, things like that, and that's all well and good until wintertime comes. Then it sucks to be you. It sucks to be a cheetah. You're not going to survive, right? First big hard freeze, and you know what you're going to find? Frozen cheetah. I'm not trying to be a dick about the cheetahs, all right? I think they're beautiful cats, right? But they're a fragile. They're on their way out genetically, unless you start domesticating these things and breeding them, right, just so that you can keep them as pets. These things will not survive 100 years.
Ah.
I don't like it. I'm not saying that, it's not something I'm looking forward to. But the fact that people trying to say we can save this species, I don't think we can save this species. Not in the wild, right? It's just there's they are a predator that hunts by stalk, and then they use their speed in a straight run to knock over and kill their prey. Well, you're not going to do that in the mountains. You're not going to here in Arizona. Yeah, they can survive the winter probably here in Arizona, but there's no real plains for them to roam around in, right? And there's definitely not enough water, right, for them to survive, right?
No.
So they couldn't survive that. It's just, unfortunately, there's certain things in nature. The idea that there are how many species have gone extinct, we have no idea.
Ah.
Now, I realize that people are focusing on the fact that mankind is doing things that are making things difficult for these animals, right? I understand that, but and I agree with trying to stop the this kind of illegal trafficking and trade and everything. But the idea that we're going to be able to save the species, I don't think we can save the species. I really don't.
Well, if you looking in Chapman's Murder's been talking about the cheetah, she's saying how they're massively inbred, barely hunt, and 90% of them don't live longer than a year. That doesn't actually surprise me. It's sad. It doesn't shock me.
No, I mean it's unfortunate, but the cheetahs were on their way out before this came about. Okay, they had noticed that the cheetah population had been declining long before people were trying to purchase them as pets. Right?
Yeah,
People had forgotten the fact that the pharaohs kept them as pets. Right? But the cheetahs had been and going down. And so of course, what everyone says is, "Oh, that's because their habitat is shrinking and everything." Yeah. Yes and no. Okay, the biggest problem is they were on their way out. They were the weakest. They were the weakest link in the cat chain. Okay, right?
yeah.
You are the weakest link. Beautiful animals,
Hmm.
right? And I'll be honest with you, the cry of cheetahs is cool, right? The little hips, right?
Yeah.
You know, they don't have that deep roar, right, roar or growl that lions have, right? They have kind of like a little
No.
yip to them. It's cute, okay, but uh, it's sad. But I mean, there's nothing we can do about them. I mean,
No.
I feel for it, but they're on their way out. Back to human worlds.
Again, again. I still suggest the cat girls is a good way of making them last. And in all fairness, dude, come on. If we can actually crossbreed them and put them in amongst Valley girls, we are laughing. We're getting rid of both species perfectly. Valley girls and cheetahs.
Oh my
It's got to be a good thing. You know,
god.
just saying, just saying.
Humanity on its way out, folks. Humanity on its way out. That's all I can say. All right. The metaverse is the ultimate survival tool. Silicon Valley is rushing to build the next big thing, and people should be skeptical of their intent. Really? Now you're going to tell us, Vice? Really? Yeah, okay. The metaverse, a term that was coined by author Neil Stevenson in his book Snow Crash, right? It was a digital playground where people were only limited by their imagination. Facebook has changed its name to Meta, all right, and says it is trying to make metaverse a reality. Now other companies are rushing to get a piece of Mark Zuckerberg's vision of the future. Here to help me puzzle out the nightmarish world the Silicon Valley billionaires want for us is Motherboard senior editor Janice Rose and Pantacon? Panopticon
Yeah.
expert. I don't know what the hell a panopticon is. I don't know what
Nope.
that's a word I've never heard before. All right, and professor of English at the Macomb County College, Chris Gisford. All right, the wide-ranging conversation starts with Rose's recent piece. Zuckerberg's meta endgame is monetizing all human behavior. All right, but it gets into deeper and systematic issues around machine learning and artificial intelligence and the kind of future we want. Look, folks, anybody who trusts anything from Facebook is an idiot. Am I missing something, Jensen?
Oh,
All right. The
it's just
ultimate
stupid,
surveillance
dude.
tool. If your world is virtual and you're living online, guess what? You have no free will anymore. Okay, if your world is online, that's your whole world, then you're not living reality. Right? At which point, anybody who can sit up there and change your reality, which is your world on the internet, all right, has total control over you. And what I mean by total control, even up to the point of, see this? This is a power plug. Or am I missing something?
No, to be honest, that is well, at least theoretically, that is their plan. It's kind of like drugs. You get people hooked on it, and then you come back to them and say, "Oh yeah, you got to pay this much more," and then you come up with a new product, which you then have to pay this much more. They are going to get you hooked on it. It's like the old VR thing. You're going to eventually get the internet where you plug into it, even if it's only through the VR glasses. And like, waiting for you to actually start having to go at me saying, "No, they're never going to do this." I think they will. I really do.
Yeah, no. I think that people are doomed to this kind of crap if they don't start waking
Yeah.
up and start being human beings again. All right.
Yep.
Just putting it out there. Right. Um, but this idea that metaverse or anything with Zuckerberg, you really want to end Zuckerberg's life, right? And it's turn off Facebook. Turn it off.
Yep.
Instead of going to Facebook to talk to Nana, pick up the freaking phone and call her.
Yep.
Okay? Now, I realize there's a convenience there, right? But you don't have to do this stuff in social media. Your socialization could easily take place with actual conversations with individuals. You don't have to do it through Twitter. You don't have to do it through Snapchat or any of the rest of this crap. right? If you got time to Snapchat, why don't you have time to sit there and go click and hit the button with Nana's face on your freaking iPhone?
Mm-hmm.
Just put it out there.
Ew, I've got to talk to real people. Ew, what a concept.
You know, I mean, people can hear my actual voice. Trust me, if you can,
Mm-hmm.
I do not have the svelte singing voice that most people would want, right? I just don't. But I do call cat girls pretty well with it. Anyway, two stories left. Cops farting no courtesy flush led to jail attack. Alleged assailant accused the roommate of stinking up the cell. A Florida inmate.
Oh, Florida. Well, I don't think any of us expected that. That is so completely out of the blue. It's not like this has ever happened in Florida at all.
A Florida inmate, all right, charged with assaulting his roommate, told cops, excuse me, that the victim farts too much, stinking up the cell, and failed to give a courtesy flush after using their shared toilet, according to the arrest report. Investigators allege that Christopher Kalin, 33, pummeled Amaldo Dominguez Covardo. Coverdo? I'm not trying to butcher your name. All right. During a confrontation Thursday night inside the cell of Monroe County Detention Center in Key West, Kalin, seen above, has been jailed since his arrest in late September for failing to register as a sex offender. All right. With Florida officials, he was convicted of a sex offense in Colorado in 2012. Cuverdo, all right, was locked up on $40,000 bond and has been in custody since February arrest for aggravated battery and indecent exposure. Why?
Again, I would just like to go back to my statement earlier about using these people for medical experiments. Argue with me. You know, this proves right here I was right.
It's hard to argue about, it's hard to feel for the victim here, right?
Mm-hmm.
It really, it really is hard. All right, he was missing two. Guy beat him pretty good too, because he left him with missing two front teeth, a broken rib, swollen and bruised lips, and a left orbital socket. Right, I guess a swollen left eye. All right.
Yeah.
When questioned by the cops, Callan, whose knuckles and hands were red, appeared to provide a motive for the assault, complaining about his cellmate's flatulence and toilet habits. He complained that Dominguez, all right, pictured on the left, speaks weird languages, according to the arrest report. And he was charged yesterday with aggravated battery by inmate, a felony for which he is scheduled to be arraigned on November 19th. The judge has ordered Kalin to have no contact with Dominguez. Oh.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
All right. Just put it out here, folks. Okay? You're ordering the guy to have no contact and you're shoving them in a cell together.
You sit in that corner, and don't talk to each other. Naughty boys.
I mean, a judge to even suggest something like that. It's like, you know what? How did you get on the bench? Just what do you have going on in Florida? What do you have going on in the water in Florida that you hire a judge to go, well, yeah, I guess we should kind of like keep these people apart?
It's a concept,
we
isn't
have
it?
two sexual predators. Well, let's stick them in the same cell and see what happens. Ooh, one beat the other one. Well, we're gonna issue you a warrant not to do that no more.
What you can do? Put me in jail? Oh look, I'm already here.
I hate to say it, but yeah. You know, what else? What are you gonna do to the guy? All right, if you're not gonna electrocute him, you know. I mean,
Hmm. Again, going back to my medical experiments. Just saying.
it's just saying the option is open.
Yeah.
All right. Final story of the day. All right, ready? Police in Michigan said deer that apparently wanted to beat Black Friday man crashed through the window of a wilderness decor store. Walker Police Department said in a Facebook post that Rudolph couldn't wait for Christmas and crashed through the window of the Wilderness Expression store to do a little holiday shopping. Our guess is that he wanted to beat the Black Friday madness, the post said. The officers arrived at the store and found the animal wandering around in the deer decor section of the business. The police coaxed the deer back outside the store, and the animal was last seen headed for the nearby woods when a gunshot rang out, and someone screamed, "Venison!"
Just so you know, Miss Murder's DM'd you. I have no idea. Good luck.
Oh no! What have you done, sir?
I
What has she DM'd me? Oh, I'm afraid to
have
look.
absolutely no idea. Yeah. But by the
Oh,
way, everyone, I actually don't think that it was going for Black Friday deals. I genuinely believe that the deer had turned around and said, you know what? Screw this, I'm sick of the world. I'm just going to go straight to humans, get shot. And that was the plan. That's why it went to the shop to save hunters time and effort. Go in there, bang. And like Falcon said, bet he tasted good.
we're gonna do something a little bit different here. As a request to Miss Murder, all right? These are stories of from Ms. Murder who lost her grandfather recently. This is a picture of her grandfather, and this is a picture of his patches in Korea. All right, for he was part of the 802nd Engineering Battalion. Um, the and this is obviously you can recognize these patches here. This is the unit patch right here, right from 1959. Um, all my sympathies and condolences there, Ms. Murr. Right, may your grandfather rest in peace. Yeah, Korea is an interesting place, and 1959 through 1960 would have been a pretty, you're in a very tense time. You have a number of incidents
Mhm.
that have been taking place, even to this day, though. To be honest, I mean, most people don't hear about them, but it's still a war. The war has not ended. They only have an armistice. All right, they have never concluded a peace treaty. Right, and this was a picture that was taken of him after he got into a fight and he got his teeth knocked out. Which, fighting in Korea is a pastime. I hate to say that. Right? There's always a dumbass American that wants to sit up there and take on a Republic of Korean soldier, right? And start a fight downtown. Don't know why, right? But those things happen now all the time. Now, for people who don't know, the Republic of Korean soldiers, right, now to become an NCO, require that they be a black belt in one of the hand to hand martial arts.
Mhm.
Most of them take Taekwondo, right, because it is the national, you know, the national martial arts, right. The vast majority of them,
Yeah.
right. Not all of them, but the majority of them. Now, Taekwondo is an interesting martial art. It is very leg intensive. Right, there's a lot of kicks and so forth that are practiced in Taekwondo. Right, and that's all well and good. But if you're in a small little corner where you can't throw a kick, uh, then other things can happen. You better be good at grappling, all right? Because that's what fighting's all about. You know,
Yep.
you hit the guy next to you as hard as you can. Hopefully he goes to the ground. If he fails to go to the ground, be ready to grapple because that's coming next. That's the way it is, right? Or you better be fast and better start running. But when it's a melee going on, it's a melee. I mean, I mean, have you been in those before, Jensen?
No, never. I have never been in a fight with a bunch of drunken Geordies taking on everyone within line of sight, including each other. Never.
Yeah, it gets quite interesting when that goes up. It is what it is. I don't know how else to describe it. I mean, people just do stupid things. They get
Chaos
liquored
and
up.
mayhem.
They get liquored up, and all right, there are people that they talk about having that liquid courage, right?
Mm.
To be honest, the people that do liquid courage are few and far between.
Yeah.
The ones you find are the ones that drink, all right, not because they're looking for courage, but they're drinking to the point where they don't care about the fight.
Yep.
Because they
Well, it
went out
works.
drinking to cause the fight. Okay, it's not that they got all Billy badass because of that. It's because they wanted an excuse to fight. All right?
Mhm.
And there are people. I saw an incident one time where a group of guys. There's two groups, and I was kind of a part of one group, but not completely. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the guy looked at the guys whose group that I was going to be a part of when it all went down. Looked at this guy, started complaining about all this shit, and then looked at the guy and said, "And you've been running your mouth all night, right?" And he pointed to the biggest guy that was on our side. And I was looking at him and I was like, "But the guy's name was Jack. Jack hasn't said a word."
Hmm?
Okay? And it's like, okay. And the festivities begin.
Mhm.
Okay? I mean, it's I don't know why. I have no idea. It was like, this guy decided he just wanted to pick a fight with the biggest guy. Look, when I go out to drink to have a good time, not to have a fight. Now, I did have buddies that they went out to drink to have fights, all right? And I kind of, I didn't go out drinking with those guys. After a couple fights, you learn real quick. Those guys just want to fight. Don't go drinking with them, right? Now, there's only so many clubs in the area, so you might end up in a club when they're in there, right? And if you don't see them to leave the club because you know a fight's going to start, right? You just know you it is what it is, folks. And
It's not a whether, it's a when. Let's be
and
honest.
the smart thing to do is, as long as everything's fine and dandy, as long as your name doesn't get put on the blotter. That's all I can say.
Yep.
Right? As long as your name wasn't written down by some official somewhere, you're good.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And what I mean by that is, when I say official, I mean any official, because all sorts of things happen, like guys that don't even get caught by the MPs and don't get written up by the commander. I saw a guy get hit because he went to the medic the next day, and he got all these bruises and stuff. And that got reported back to the commander, who then, read him the riot act. Like I said, as long as the authorities don't have your name, you're okay. Don't come down on a blotter. Don't come down on a report, any report. You're golden. Nothing happened. Even if the building burned to the ground, you can plead ignorance. and as long as there's no pictures. It's a lot harder nowadays because there's always a jackass with a fucking cell phone now.
Yeah.
My language.
Some reason they never actually believed that it wasn't me, governor. Line. I don't know why.
I mean, it's also some crazy crap. Although it wasn't just in Korea or it was generally overseas. I will admit that, but it wasn't just in Korea. I mean, Germany was just as bad, to be honest. And
Yeah.
you would end up with these incidents that would happen. I was at a club when an American got into a fight with a German, and the Polizei showed up. I was like, oh, time to go. Trying to get so you start finding ways to move to the back of the crowd so that people don't notice you. You know how that works, Jensen. Slowly, you kind of melt backwards, right?
Yeah, you're assuming. See, you're assuming that I was part of the groups that would have that as an opportunity. No, my guys definitely had the let's stop thinking and charge in first. Who you facing? Who you got? Okay? I mean, I'm going to assume you've met people like that.
Well, in those incidents, the way to get away is you all leave and then all claim, I know nothing, never heard anything.
Yep.
Right? You have to understand how that rule works. All right. If you are going to go for that scenario, then you have to have the understanding that when somebody says they're on the, everybody hears on the way. All right.
Yep.
You don't care who's on the way. You don't care what's on the way. You know that it ain't going to be good. But if somebody says, if you hear the words on the way, those three words, on the way, because sometimes it's hard to hear things in the crowd.
Yeah.
When things are screaming and people are yelling. But if the words on the way are said, it's time to leave. You gather your mates and you skedaddle.
Yeah.
You find other places to be.
Yeah.
In this case, though, it was a one-on-one thing, right? And so it wasn't a unit thing, right? In this case, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the Polizei showed up. I start moving to the back, but I'm watching what's happening, and I'm looking at the American, thinking to myself, you're screwed, dude. He wasn't in my unit, so I don't know who he was, right? But I know you know who the American is, obviously, right? And the American is drunkenly trying to tell the Polizei what happened, right?
Yeah, that's good. Well,
the guy, the Polizei, just kind of like just shaking his hand, and the German is going off and gesturing wildly, right?
Yep.
And the Polizei, you can tell the Polizei are trying to tell him, calm down, because you know how they got that hand out while their other hand is on the black nightstick.
No, yeah.
Right. Trying to calm him down, and the guy's just trying to shake and calm him down, and at some stupid point, the German pushed the Polizei. And that was it. The nightsticks came out. The beatings commenced. They beat him onto the ground, right? And then they picked him up and slammed him into the police door, and then opened the door and then threw him in the back and told the American, leave now, right? Gone.
Mm-hmm. This is the moment you just walk the hell away.
We're safe.
Wasn't me. Yep.
No, wasn't at the club. Didn't see shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's amazing. The German police do not have a sense of humor.
Yeah, and I'm not going to be giving you this advice, but walk, don't run.
Oh no!
Just saying.
You walk because you're not trying to attract attention.
Yep.
You're just out for a nightly stroll at 1:30 in the morning. I mean, it's just the thing to do. And if you look around, there's lots of Americans doing it at this point. Not necessarily walking, more like stumbling, shambling, doing other things, right? But yeah, it's kind of like a ritual. 1:30.
Yep.
After midnight, nothing good happens. That's a very true statement.
No.
After midnight in a club, there's nothing good. The best thing that can happen at midnight in a club you go home safe.
Yeah.
You wake up in the barracks the next day. You wake up in your room. All right, nothing's been torched. Nothing's been burned. Nothing has been broken. Right.
Mm-hmm.
You're, you're in your room, which is another plus. Not in somebody else's room from some other unit and some God knows where. What the hell happened in the meantime, right? Because things happen. And
True.
I'm not talking sexually though. I'm not talking just things
No.
happen. It's just you're hiding. People,
You're not wrong, man.
there's some wild ass shit that I'm surprised I've survived in some ways. When I look back at some things, it's amazing that I survived some of the shit that I.
It's bad that it's actually more dangerous than the combat situations. It really is. And let's be fair, it can be. Half the time with the combat situations, bugger all is going on.
Yeah.
But you go out on the piss with the boys, you know it's going to go horribly wrong. You don't know when, you don't know where, and you don't know how, you just know it is.
You can tell though. Let's be honest.
Oh, yeah.
You can tell because it starts. It's you know what kind of day it's going to be. Right when you get out and say, "Hey guys, how's it going?" and they're saying, "Here's what we got planned," and you're like, "Oh my god, no!"
Nah.
It's like, yeah, this isn't going to end well. You see them there.
Stick with your boys.
They haven't. They haven't even gotten out of their uniforms yet, as they've gone back to their rooms, and they've already got a beer in their hand. You're like, oh no.
Mate, I've seen a few of them wrapping up their knuckles before they go out.
Yeah, that's another one. You see a guy
Yep.
going out there, and he's. I knew a guy. He loved wearing chains. Those big link chains, right?
Yep.
He had a wall locker. He had like 4 or 5 of these things dangling on a wall locker. Which one he was going to take? And you'd be like, okay, no, he's taking the big one on the lower screw. He's taking the heavy one tonight. He's looking for a fight.
Oh yeah.
And you're like, Max, no, Max. I'm Max. I think I'm staying in today. These are the things that happen,
Yeah.
Now, if you're in the combat arms MLS, all right,
Mhm.
and you're in one of those, they don't mind
Yeah.
it. Okay,
Nah.
those commanders will take it in stride. They won't persecute you. Even if you come out on the blotter, they'll do the naughty wag the finger, but nothing more, right?
Yeah.
But if you got caught in my unit fighting with a German downtown, they were going to throw the frickin' book at you, man. It sucked.
Yeah.
I saw guys that didn't do really much of anything. I saw a guy prosecuted because he'd gotten into a fight at the club. He had gotten into a fight in the club. I'm not going to deny that, right? But he had escaped successfully. He had made it all the way back to the barracks, right? Successfully. Was still pissed off, standing in front of the CQ desk, and then hit the wall with his fist.
So.
And broke it. And so the commander charged him with a failure to control himself, all right, and intentionally breaking his hand. I mean, it's like you couldn't prove he was in a fight down in the club, but so you're gonna just bust him because he broke his hand because he hit the wall? Yep.
Fairness, okay, that is just the technical definition of being a dumbass, okay? And you get to see people getting busted for being a dumbass often.
Yeah, well, yeah, you. I saw some guys that were upset about some shit, right? And they never got in trouble for any of that crap that they did, right? But on their way back home, they picked up a small German vehicle. Okay? And just turned it sideways. right? So it couldn't get out. They didn't,
Yeah.
they didn't turn it over or flip it over like they could have or anything else. They just turned it sideways and put it in the between these two other vehicles, right? As if they were parking it in this one area where obviously they couldn't get out, right? And it was like they just those. Did they get charged for all the other mayhem that they had done that night? No, no, no. They got charged because they picked up this guy's car and they bent one of the door panels when they picked it up, right? You got to, for people who don't know, the door panels are not American door panels, right? You lean on those things and
Yeah.
they're like, you can easily bend them, right? You can freaking breathe
Yeah.
on them wrong, they'll freaking bend, right? Because they're so
Yeah.
thin. But yeah, it's just like. Luckily, I was not with. Well, we were coming back.
Mm-hmm.
I know. This happened. I saw this happen, but only because I was coming back from the fest with a bunch of other guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
So luckily, the command
Okay.
never knew that we had witnessed it, because otherwise we could have gotten more people in trouble. They only got two of the guys, two of the four. But yeah, you get some of the stupidest people do some of the stupidest shit, and you bust people for the dumbest shit. While you let, real dumb shit, they ignore. Real activity that you would think that they would get upset about. Yeah, you just shake your head. It's like, I think that's part of the
What?
problem. Is you
See,
get the guy.
what can you do? Seriously, what can you do? You know full well what it's like. You get the terminal dumbasses out there. Could you bitch at them? Yes. Would it do any good? No.
Well, that's true, right? Because there's people do dumb shit as soon as somebody says, I swear to God, the whole term "hold my beer," you really don't have a good reference point for it until you go in the military. You go in the military and you see some of the dumbest shit that you'd ever see in your freaking life, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where
The thing is,
they,
a
they
good chunk of them actually do it just for fun.
yeah,
That's the thing.
they
We're
challenge
bored. Let's do this.
they challenge themselves to some of the dumbest shit you've ever seen in your life, right? I watched two guys challenge themselves to who would pull away first. Right? They were playing a game of light the cigarette. All right, put their arms together. Right, and the person who jerked their
Mm-hmm.
arm away first from the lit cigarette was the loser. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I watched two drunk idiots do that,
Mm-hmm.
and neither one of them were going to pull their arm away. All right, and they let it burn for a good 5-10 minutes. I don't know if it was 5 or 10 minutes. It was a long time. It wasn't. Normally it's like instantaneous. You pull your arm away.
Yeah.
No, these idiots didn't do that.
Nah.
Right. And so when they finally picked the thing up, their skin had fused together because it burned together, and they were
Yeah.
stuck together. We had to take them to the got to take them to the medical clinic. Right? Now your name's on a blotter.
Mm-hmm.
I'm being a dumbass. This is the shit that.
Can you imagine being the med techs actually having to deal with? Can you seriously imagine the sort of crap they used to deal with on literally a daily basis?
Oh yeah, no, I know.
Wow.
I mean, this is normally they're used to something broken, right? Because it leads
Yeah.
generally what dumbassery does is leads to somebody doing something where something gets broken. A leg gets broken, an arm gets broken, a face gets broken. All right,
Mm-hmm.
a head collides with another head. I saw two guys
Yeah.
knock themselves out because they were headbutting themselves. You know how those people challenge the headbutt challenge?
Yeah.
Whack! And I mean, it's the noise, the sound was like those National Geographic specials from those rams running into one another. Whack!
Yeah.
And then both of them just went poof. I didn't. I tell you what. When that happened that time, I just stayed at the club drinking. I was like, okay, we let their buddies take those guys home because I was like, you guys are dumb. Why would you do that? What do you get out of this? All right.
If you're British, you call that the Glasgow kiss. Yeah, we actually have a term for it.
Don't get me wrong. I've been in clubs and I was at a party, right, where the headbutting routine began, and I wasn't smart enough or fast enough or sober enough to get away. Right? And the guy turned me around, right? And it went whack, right? And I saw stars, right? I stayed on my feet, but I saw stars. I was like, whoa. Right? And then that guy went on and continued to headbutt every other paper, and I'm like, oh my god, I freaking had a headache for a freaking week from that. Right?
Get concussion the easy way.
I mean, it's just these things. All it takes is, have you tried this? Or, bet you can't. Or,
Oh, betcha can't is just the moment you hear that, you know, oh, this is going to go horribly wrong.
right, you didn't do this. I had a guy. He was telling stories about what it was like when he was in military academy, right? Not West Point or anything like that. It was
Nah.
like high school military academy, right?
Yeah.
And he was talking about some of the going down with the local girls and skinny dipping nude and things like that, right? And one of the guys said, "Oh, bullshit! You didn't do anything like that." He said, "Yeah, I know. I did stuff like that." So I bet you, and I bet you won't do it now. And he goes, "What? I bet you won't drop your drawers and run across the parade ground." Oh yeah, how much? I'm like, oh man. And so, yeah, Vince won his bet. He went streaking, buck ass naked, right across the freaking parade ground with everybody screaming at the top of their lungs, trying to point at him. Right?
Yeah.
It always starts with bet you. It's like, oh yeah, a challenging people in the military to do something is like you're just asking for it. You're just asking to be proven wrong. Bet you won't.
Oh God, yeah. Oh no, you're not wrong, mate. You're not wrong with that. But I'll bring this to a close here. We've been going for 2 hours.
Oh, close to 3.
Is there any final words you would like to say, sir?
Nope. That's pretty much it. Hope everybody has a good day.
Yep, I hope everyone has an enjoyable evening. Thank you very much for coming out and listening to us drivel. And I hope you enjoyed the news. I'll see you all later. Goodbye, everybody.